items. The council meeting of March 7, 2023 will now please come to order at 8:13 p.m. The audience is invited to join council in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Broussard. Ms. Gilchrist.
Here.
Mr. Glassburn.
Here.
Ms. Heeman.
Here.
Mr. Limpert.
Present.
Mr. Madden.
Here.
Mr. Scarl.
Present.
Ms. Williamson.
Here. If there are no additions or corrections, the council meeting minutes of February 21st, 2023 are approved as written. The following legislation is considered for suspension of the rules this evening. On second reading, ordinances 2023-23 and 2023-27 and resolution 2023-31. And on first reading, resolutions 2023-32 and 2023-33. Moving into reports, Mayor, do you have a report this evening?
I do, Madam President. Thank you. Good evening. I invite you all to the opening evening of the annual North Olmsted Mayor's Art Show tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. at Old Town Hall. The show is open to our community starting tomorrow evening and also on Thursday, March 9th from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m., Friday, March 10th from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m., and Saturday, March 11th from 1 until 3 p.m. I also invite you all to attend my first State of the City address at 7 p.m. Thursday, March 9th at Springvale Ballroom. All elected and appointed directors will join me to answer questions from our residents as well. March is Senior Appreciation Month at the North Olmsted Recreation Center. Seniors can earn shamrocks for participating in select events during the month of March, and the top 3 seniors will win a prize and bragging rights, which I suspect is better than the prize that they will get. I had the pleasure to swear in 3 new firefighter paramedics yesterday in council chambers. We welcome Andrew Jones, Preston Miller, and Jacob Novak to our fire department. Director of Economic and Community Development Upton and I attended the grand opening of the newly redesigned Arby's restaurant on Lorraine Road last week. The inside is beautiful, but what will impress you more is that you can actually get around the Arby's in a safe way in your car through their new drive-through. So I highly recommend stopping by and ordering some mozzarella sticks from them. The City Recreation Department hosted the first cardboard boat races this past Saturday, March 4th. I can report that 2 boats of the 6 that entered into the contest made it across the pool completely. This event showed off the creativity of our residents, and a good time was had by all. And mark your calendars for 6 p.m. this Friday, March 10th, the first ever North Olmsted Parks and Recreation Department Nerf battle with North Olmsted Blaster League. Age groups will be split into 2 teams and will play 3 games. The event is for children aged 6 to 12 and runs from 6 until 9:15 p.m. And finally, the Arbor Day Foundation has recognized North Olmsted as a Tree City USA for 2022. Kudos to arborist Mike Bosaw. The city has earned this prestigious distinction for several years in a row now. And Madam President, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Director of Logaro, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Madam President. Last meeting, I had advised that the schools, the Spruce and Forest school purchases were scheduled to close and transfer possession of the city of North Olmsted on the 28th. That in fact happened on the 28th. The city took title and possession of the 2 school buildings. I understand Mr. Kearney is now in possession of a giant box of keys. You can put them on a keychain and carry them around with you or something, but he's got it. He's under control. We have arrangements to make sure the utilities stay on and that the building is being watched and protected and secured, and so that all went fairly well. Next is a case I told you about in the past, North Olmsted versus Michael Bramante. This is a common pleas case from 2022. This is one of the light pole cases on Country Club Boulevard near Dillard's. back on the 22nd of, excuse me, the 31st of May last year. That case is settled. So the City of North Olmsted was able to reach an amicable resolution and in the amount of $11,000. North Olmsted versus Dewey Willoughby, a case also from 22. The date of incident was in August of 2020. That case also settled. That was $18,141.91 we were able to get in settlement. Defendant had previously paid $4,862.40 for temporary repairs. A lot of times these things you get into arguments with people because we have to dispatch an immediate temporary repair to come out, and that costs a significant amount of money, but then you actually have to fix it later on. So sometimes you'll see the old style wires running across the street with a light with the traffic signals hanging off of them. You have to secure it, get them back up and running, and then you have to come out and fix them. Insurance companies hate that, and you end up arguing with them about that. So that's why these cases sometimes take so long. Northern Trust versus Susie M. Walsh. That is a case from 20. That is the Oring property. We've talked about that in the past. We even passed legislation to go out to bid to get contractors to tear the building down. We have secured a judgment entry where Northern Trust will stipulate to perform demolition of that building within 60 days. So we don't have to pay for it, they will, and we'll get that cleaned up. It's really quite a site. And we are commencing an action, North Olmsted versus Jacobson, to obtain an injunction on a registered offender to vacate a premises too close to the middle school and high school properties. That was just filed and service is underway, and we expect that that will be granted and that he will relocate somewhere other than his current location. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Copper, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, I do, Madam President. The auditors began their fieldwork this week, and they are utilizing the back conference room when they are here, but they are doing a lot of it electronically as well. So they'll be in and out of the building from now till probably through May. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Moving into council committee reports, as chairwoman of the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee, I will provide my report from the committee meeting held on Tuesday, February 8th, 2023. Present were all members of council, the mayor, directors of law, finance, human resources, economic development, service, recreation, and the special assistant to the mayor. On the agenda was ordinance 2023-27, which is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a 5-year lease agreement with Motorola to install dispatcher's console, model MCC 7500E, through the state purchase program at an annual cost of $162,288.49, and further authorizing the mayor to execute contract documents and declaring an emergency. The mayor explained that this lease will be for a 5-year period and includes the software and technical services. The equipment will be acquired through the state purchase program. Since this purchase was discussed with prior legislation, suspension was requested so that the contract can be executed and will allow for a quicker delivery time. The committee voted 3-0 to recommend approval to all of council with suspension, and the committee meeting concluded at 7:45 p.m. Councilman Limpert, Chairman of the Building, Zoning, and Development Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do have a report this evening, Madam President. Thank you. The Building, Zoning, and Development Committee met on February 28, 2023 at 7:46 p.m. Present were committee members Limpert, Heeman, and Williamson. Council members Broussard, Gilchrist, Madden, Scarl, and Glassburn. On the mayor, HR director, economic development director, service director, recreation director, special assistant to the mayor. On the agenda was resolution 2023-30, which was a resolution authorizing the director of economic and community development to solicit statements of qualifications for qualified individuals to provide housing and market analysis for the city of North Olmsted, including Forest Elementary School property, and further authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to enter into a contract upon review and selection of statements of qualifications. Mr. Upton noted that this is going to be a citywide housing market analysis in order to determine the best fit purpose for the Forest School property to maximize the benefit to our city's housing stock. And the motion was approved by a vote of 3-0. And that concluded the meeting at 7:54 PM. Madam President, if I could have just a moment of personal privilege. So I know the mayor mentioned last council meeting about the opening of the rec facility. I just wanted to comment that I've had a couple opportunities these last couple weeks to witness it from a city recreation program as just an availability for practice, and also from a paid local group to be able to participate. And it's just been a really good experience, and looking forward to that continued. And we'll be talking to the rec director how we can maximize that space, but definitely a much safer environment than gyms and sliding and muddy in the Clegg Park area for March practice. So just want to say that, and thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Heeman, Chairwoman of the Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do. Thank you, Madam President. The Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee meeting was held on Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. The meeting was called to order at 7:53 p.m. Present were committee members Heeman, Scarl, and Lippert, all council members, Council President Broussard, the mayor, the law director, Human Resource Economic Development, Safety, Recreation, and Assistant Finance Director. The committee met to discuss Ordinance 2023-24 and Resolution 2023-25. First on the agenda was Resolution 2023-24 and, ordinance. An ordinance amending Section 145.99D of Chapter 145 of the Administrative Code entitled, quote, Department of Recreation and Public Engagement, end quote, for the purpose of creating part-time support personnel in the Division of Aging and declaring an emergency. Ms. Heeman opened the discussion by stating that the addition of a part-time support person was already in the budget that was proposed to the council, and that there were no objections. Further, that there were no objections during the budget hearings, and this essentially is a housekeeping issue within the administration's organizational chart. There were no questions from committee nor council. Ms. Heeman made a motion to recommend to all of council Ordinance 2023-5, seconded by Mr. Scarl, and the motion passed 3-0. Next on the agenda was Resolution Number 2023-25, a resolution dispensing with the RFP process and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Vasco Sports Contractors to provide for turf maintenance at the Recreation Center and declaring an emergency. Ms. Heeman opened the discussion by stating that this resolution is regarding the deep cleaning maintenance of the turf at the new field house, that the vendor Vasco Sports Contractors is proposing a 4-year biannual advanced field care for the spring and the fall deep cleaning program in the total amount of $16,000. Director Pinchek indicated that city staff would maintain the turf on a more daily/weekly basis as needed, and that this contract is a much more comprehensive spring and fall deep clean. He indicated that the maintenance schedule proposed by Vasco is the same schedule and method recommended by the manufacturer of the turf, and that it is sufficient to properly maintain and sanitize the new turf. Ms. Heeman made a motion to recommend to all of council Resolution 2023-5, Ordinance 2023-5, no, hold on, I'm all confused. A Resolution 2023-5, seconded by Mr. Scarl. Motion passed 3-0, and the meeting concluded at 7:59 p.m. And welcome back, spring and fall cleaning. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Glassburn, Chairman of the Finance Committee, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, Madam President, I have a couple reports. Finance met for the first time on February 28th, 2023 at 7:59. Present were all of council, the mayor, the director of law, HR, economic development, service, recreation, special assistant to the mayor, and the assistant to the finance director. 5 items were on the agenda. First discussed was 2023-23, the demolition of Spruce, and this was paying for that demolition to occur. That was recommended 3-0. Second was 2023-28, which is accepting a grant from NOPEC for energy efficiency projects. That was recommended 3-0. Third was 2023-29, which is renewal of our vision benefits program at the same rates as previously. That was recommended 3-0. Fourth was 2023-31, the Cintas uniform contract. Again, that provides for uniforms and cleaning supplies for the city. That was recommended 3-0. And lastly, 2023-21, the permanent budget was discussed again. It was held in committee 3-0, which brings us to, I'm sorry, and that meeting ended at 8:36 p.m. on the 28th. The second meeting was this evening, March 7th, 2023. Present were council members Gilchrist, Glassburn, Heeman, Limpert, Madden, Scarl, and Williamson, the mayor, and the directors of law, finance, HR, economic development, safety, service, recreation, and the special assistant to the mayor. Discussed was 2023-21, the permanent budget. Director Kopfer presented her rationale for her projections. Council members discussed the negative projections, and will meet the following week to make amendments. And that was held again in committee 3-0. And at this time, I would move, Madam President, to remove 2023-21 from the agenda and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to remove ordinance 2023-21 from the agenda made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes. Ordinance 2023-21 is adopted, is removed from the agenda by a vote of 7-0.
And Madam President, I will close with just a note that if Mr. Limpert or any other councilperson wishes to make appropriations to enhance field conditions at Clay Park, that is most welcome.
That's my deal.
That concludes my report. Thank you, Madam President.
Second. Councilman Scarl, Chairman of the Environmental Control Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report, Madam President, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gilchrist, Chairwoman of the Intragovernmental Relations Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do not, Madam President, thank you.
You're welcome. Councilman Madden, Chairman of the Streets and Transportation Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any letters or communications to come before council at this time?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. Moving on into audience participation. Thank you for attending tonight's council meeting. Public comment offers the opportunity for members of the public to share information and bring issues and concerns to the attention of city council members. It is not a debate, and public comment speakers should not expect a back and forth exchange. Council members may ask clarifying questions of the speaker, city staff, or fellow council members. Those attending city council meetings should show the same respect to others that they wish to have shown to them. If there is anyone in the audience who would like to address council, please come to the podium, state and spell your name and address for the clerk. If you live in a city other than North Olmsted, please state the name of that city and proceed with your comments. You will have up to 5 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Bruce Bluell. I live on 4716 Lansing Drive, where we have a lot of water leaks over the years. We had another one last week. It seems like we're just putting end-to-end patches because it happens so frequently. Last year we had one that lasted a couple of days. We have a lot of sediment that comes into the house, into any system that we have in the house, the water heaters, the plumbing, that, it affects the longevity of those systems as well. I was going to propose that maybe we should apply for some of the ARPA money that the state's gotten from the feds to maybe upgrade our water lines. I know a lot of them haven't been replaced in at least 61, some of them in 99, some of them, there's not even a date on it. I don't know if it predates, record keeping, or they just didn't do anything with it. But every year, it's, an issue right in like a 3 or 4 stretch property of my address and then to the north, and then to the south, a couple of properties. So, we get water in our basements, our yards gets flooded, and again, our water, any systems in the house that use water, are affected by it as well. I don't know, we made a call to the engineer, made him aware of it. I don't know if there's been any plans made, to pursue, any improvements along those lines, but I would highly suggest it as a resident, especially with federal money, state money available. Now seems like a great time to go down that road. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Evening, everyone. Carrie Peoples, 4673 Lansing Drive. Live across the street from Bruce. So this is the third water main break. In 2 years we've lived there. And every time it breaks, it's a day or a day and a half, the line gets shut down. Now we're learning, since we're in a sand sediment type environment where the pipe sits, that sand is now in all of our appliances. We just put new appliances in this home. And since the line has not been touched since '61, the water department tells me that this is way past overdue for this line to be replaced with new technology. It's not only an inconvenience to us, it's a health hazard for everybody on Lansing. It's 3,000 feet almost that was put in '61. So everybody in that 3,000 feet plus is getting sediment and health issues over a period of time. From what Bruce has told me, this has been going on for 10 years, up and down the street. Every house, when it breaks, and a lot of residents are unaware of the sand and sediment that goes into their appliances. And when they break, they don't understand until the plumber tells them. So my suggestion is what Bruce brought forward. There's $5 billion available through the federal government. Why are we not applying for this? The engineer tells me it's not his job. The city of Cleveland Water Department, it's not their job. Whose job is it? I'm asking you.
Madam President, can I
Councilman?
address this? So, without hopefully relitigating everything that we went through in our previous discussions about our dissatisfaction with Cleveland Water, this issue is endemic of the reason why I've been very unhappy with the partnership that we've had with Cleveland Water. It's Cleveland Water's obligation to provide us clean water. It is their obligation to repair these pipes. When we were presented a proposal to make an agreement with Cleveland Water long-term, in that proposal, it was Cleveland Water's assertion that pipes should last well over 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that our community would be well too young to get new pipes, not just in the near future, but for decades. And we had to make a multi-decade commitment for the right to get into the waiting list for 30 or 40 years from now. And even at that, we would still be the youngest community on that list. And so I'd be surprised if Lansing even was on the list, because the handful of streets that were on our list, it was like 2% of the city were the oldest in the city, and Lansing doesn't meet that definition. So I'm sorry that you've gone through this. I had a water main break on my street, I don't know, a week or two ago. Director Carney and I were involved with getting that repaired. Hopefully, we will have an alternative via the city of Westlake or Avon or elsewhere that we can join a network that cares about preserving its pipes. But right now, we're, for the moment, still stuck with Cleveland Water, and they have shown no interest.
So I'm under the assumption that you're okay with this, that health issues are, that's all okay, not an issue. I'm told that the city, North Olmsted, owns these lines. Is that correct?
As Madam President referenced in this, we're not here to make a debate. However,
I'm trying to get information.
what I'm responding to is an agreement of frustration with you, not to say that I don't find this situation acceptable at all. North Olmsted, the only way Cleveland will even begin, as I said, to consider replacing these pipes is if we make a multi-decade commitment, and they won't even start looking at replacing them for 30 or 40 years. And so the problem is we don't have another option unless Westlake or Avon or another entity comes forward and is prepared. Cleveland collects money for those water rates. They collect the money to repair those pipes. We don't receive the money to build out a new network of pipes in the city. We don't receive the money to even repair those pipes. And that's why Cleveland has that obligation right now to do those repairs. So I hope that we have an alternative soon.
Madam Chair? Thank you.
Councilman.
Thank you. Oh, sir? If you don't mind, if you would give someone your telephone numbers and your addresses. I did a lot of the research on the Cleveland water issue. I was the chairperson of that committee, and they are obligated to fix those. And I need to go back to that research and then make some, I'll do what I can to assist in getting that work done. But of course, with our city engineer and our service director, of course. But I probably have the bulk of the information. But I guarantee to you that that is the city of Cleveland's responsibility to fix that. I can guarantee that to you. And I will be very happy to assist in any way I can in getting that done.
What about replacement? Is that Cleveland City Water as well, or?
Without getting into it, it's a very deep subject. I'm happy to talk with you personally about it, outside of this meeting so that I can go over details and share the information with you. And then you, of course, can share it with your neighbors. But yeah, they are obligated to repair all of our water lines with the exception of certain diameters, and those things run from your house to the street. It's a pretty complicated what they fix and what they don't fix, but the bulk is theirs to fix, okay? Regardless of ownership, and it's because of when they decided they wanted to put the water in, because they own the water, okay? So, but I will talk with you, I promise. If you will leave your information, if you don't want to stay throughout the whole meeting.
Thank you. Director.
Madam President, to reiterate what various members of council said, the pipes in question are, in fact, as we all know, the responsibility of the Cleveland Division of Water. And to our residents here in attendance, you can be assured that the administration is doing everything in its power to hold Cleveland Water's feet to the fire and make sure that they live up to their obligations, and will continue to do so. Thank you, Madam
Thank you,
President.
Director. Seeing no other comments from the audience, we will now move into legislation.
Legislation on third reading, Resolution 2023-9, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the city engineer to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to provide new pavement markings to various streets and locations in the city, is detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder.
Madam President,
Councilman.
this time I move to adopt Resolution 2023-9 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-9 made by Councilman Madden, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-9 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-10, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the city engineer to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to provide crack sealing on various streets at various locations in the city as detailed in specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder.
Madam President,
Councilman.
at this time, I move to adopt Resolution 2023-10 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-10 made by Councilman Madden, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-10 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-11, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the city engineer to advertise for bids for the award of a contract for the 2023 street resurfacing project is detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder.
Madam President,
Councilman.
at this time, I move to adopt Resolution 2023-11 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-11 made by Councilman Madden, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-11 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-13, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Economic and Community Development to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to provide demolition services at Forest and Spruce Elementary Schools as detailed in specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder as amended.
Madam President,
Councilman.
I'd make a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-13 and ask for a second.
Second. Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-13 made by Councilman Limpert, seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-13 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-14, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the city engineer to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to provide construction services for the senior center and community cabin kitchen renovation project as detailed in specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval by the Board of Control, to enter into a contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder.
Madam President,
Councilwoman.
I move to adopt 2023-14 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-14 made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Scarl. Roll call, please.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-14 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-15, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the city engineer to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to provide construction services for the Springvale parking lot renovation project as detailed in specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to enter into a contract for same with the lowest and best bidder.
Madam President,
Councilwoman.
I'd like to move to adopt 2023-15 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-15 made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Scarl. Roll call, please.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-15 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2023-17, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a purchase agreement with Pathmaster, Inc. to install glance GPS preemption and priority traffic control signalization systems through the state purchase program at a cost of $305,635 in approved ARPA funds, and upon approval of the Board of Control, further authorizing the mayor to execute contract documents and declaring an emergency.
I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-17 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2023-17 made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Madden. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
yes,
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-17 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2023-19, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance amending and reestablishing Chapter 179 of the Administrative Code entitled Department of Economic and Community Development in order to create the position of Economic Development Coordinator within the department and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I move to adopt 2023-19 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2023-19 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
yes,
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-19 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2023-20, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance amending the rates of compensation for administrative personnel to add an economic development coordinator for year 2023, and otherwise restating the compensation rates and descriptions for various administrative and legislative personnel for the year 2023 and declaring an emergency as amended.
Madam President, I move to adopt 2023-20 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2023-23 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
This is -20, but yes.
Sorry, 20.
Let's go.
Let me redo that again. Motion to adopt ordinance 2023-20 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please. Got ahead of myself.
Mr. Glassburn?
I vote yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
yes,
Are you good?
So where are we here? We're on 23. Okay, so we're doing that one now. Yeah, okay.
Ordinance 2023-23, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance to make appropriations for the demolition of Spruce Elementary for the year ending December 31st, 2023.
Madam President,
Councilman.
I'd move to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings for 2023-23. It is in the safety interest of the city to get spruce demolished as fast as possible, and I ask for a second.
Madam President, was that discussed in committee to be a suspension? I can't recall. That should go, because it's a capital improvement, should go to 3 readings and no emergency. So if we can allow that one to continue.
I will happily withdraw the motion.
Thank you, sir. That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't think the administration asked for a suspension on that one. Okay. It might have been another one, but if we can just go ahead and leave it on agenda and let it go to 3rd reading, that would be great.
Ordinance 2023-24, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance amending Section 14599D of Chapter 145 of the Administrative Code entitled Department of Recreation and Public Engagement for the purpose of creating part-time support personnel in the Division of Aging and declaring an emergency. Resolution 2023-25, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution dispensing with the RFP process and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Vasco Sports Contractors to provide for turf maintenance at the Recreation Center and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2023-27, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a 5-year lease agreement with Motorola to install dispatchers console model MCC 7500E through the state purchase program at an annual cost of $162,288.49, and further authorizing the mayor to execute contract documents and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings as this ordinance was heard in committee and reported on this evening. and it is necessary to go ahead with this contract now so we can get the equipment within the next 2 to 3 months. And ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings for ordinance 2023-27 made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Madden. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Madam President, may I ask a quick clarification to one of my colleagues? Ms. Heeman, this wasn't the topic you mentioned as part of our budget, different amendments of things that you were talking about with dispatch, correct?
I'm sorry, Director, during a roll call, do we have discussion?
We do not.
Once the motion's made and seconded, are we in a roll call right now? I was talking to the mayor.
We are.
There's not discussion at that point in time.
Thank you.
All right, no.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 6 to 1. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address council regarding ordinance 2023-27, please approach the podium now. Seeing none, I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-27 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2023-27 made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Madden. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes, with brief comment. These are necessary consoles for us to continue our dispatch as the City of North Olmsted dispatching.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-27 is adopted by a vote of 7 to 0.
Ordinance 2023-28, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance authorizing all actions necessary to accept the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, NOPEC, Energized Community Grants for 2023, further authorizing the mayor to enter into grant agreements and declaring an emergency. Resolution 2023-29, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution dispensing with the formal RFP process and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Vision Benefits of America, Inc., VBA, to provide for employee health care benefits. Resolution 2023-30, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Economic and Community Development to solicit statements of qualifications, SOQ, from qualified individuals or firms to provide housing market analysis for the City of North Olmsted, including Forest Elementary School, and further authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to enter into a contract upon review and selection of SOQs. Resolution 2023-31, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a rental services agreement with Cintas for uniforms and supplies for several departments by and through participation in the state purchase program, and further authorizing the mayor to execute all contract documents and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Mr. Glassburn.
I'd move to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings for 2023-31. This one was heard in committee and favorably recommended 3 to 0. This provides for not only uniforms, but the various hygienic products to keep our facilities clean. And so it is in the interest of the city to get that done as soon as possible.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings for Resolution 2023-31 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7 to 0. If there is anyone in the audience who wishes to address council regarding Resolution 2023-31, please approach the podium now.
Seeing none, Madam President, I move to adopt 2023-31 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-31 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-31 is adopted by a vote of 7 to 0.
Legislation on first reading, Resolution 2023-32, a resolution authorizing the Director of Recreation and Public Engagement to solicit bids for the purchase of perimeter netting for installation around the turf at North Olmsted Recreation Center Fieldhouse, and upon approval of the Board of Control, further authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I introduce, place on first reading, and request suspension of the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review.
Madam President,
Councilwoman.
I'd like to request a suspension of the rules requiring 3 readings. This was discussed in caucus this evening, and it is in the best interest of public safety to receive bids for the perimeter netting of our new field house. And ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Scarl. Roll call, please.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address council regarding Resolution 2023-32, please approach the podium now.
Madam President,
Councilwoman.
seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to adopt 2023-32 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-32 made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Scarl. Roll call, please.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-32 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-33, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a 3-year contract with Met Telecommunications to provide for 911 emergency phone lines to the North Olmsted Dispatch Center and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I introduce, place on first reading, and request suspension of the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review, as this ordinance, or this resolution, was heard this evening in caucus. The mayor did explain that this is for our 911 call system at a savings of $800 per month. And I'd like to ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Madden. Roll call, please.
3 readings
And formal committee review.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address council regarding Resolution 2023-33, please approach the podium now. And seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-33 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-33 made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Madden. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-33 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-34, a resolution authorizing the Director of Economic and Community Development to solicit statements of qualifications, SOQ, pursuant to the request for qualification RFQ process from qualified firms to conduct strategic planning services to fulfill the charter mandated 10-year master plan review requirement for the city of North Olmsted, and further authorizing the mayor, subject to approval of the Board of Control, to enter into an agreement with firms selected through the RFQ process.
Madam President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Thank you. I would like to schedule a special committee meeting on special council meeting. Thank you. I would like to schedule a special council meeting on March 14th at 8 PM to move the permanent budget ordinance 2023-21 to second reading. And moving into scheduling committee meetings for Tuesday, March 14th, 2023. Councilman Limpert, would you like to schedule a Building, Zoning, and Development Committee meeting?
I would, thank you, Madam President Pro Tem. I'd like to schedule Building Zone Development at 8:05 on the 14th of March to address Resolution 2023-34. Ask that the Economic Development Director and any other necessary members for that conversation be present.
Thank you. Councilman Glassburn, would you like to schedule? Sorry.
Yes, Madam President, would like to schedule finance 7:30 on Pi Day, March 14th, to discuss 2023-21, where we'll discuss and make amendments to the permanent budget. And we'll ask for the finance director or her designee and the mayor or her designee.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor to excuse the absence of Council President Brossard?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to excuse Council President Brossard made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilwoman Heeman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes. Motion passes with a vote of 7-0. With the agenda being completed and there being no further business to come before council, this meeting of March 7th is adjourned at 9:05 PM. We have to mute this thing. How do you do this?
I thought it was odd, but no, it's quite all right. Thank you. I prefer us to do things correctly than redo them. So I get what? Yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely.